Hi, everybody. Matt here, starting off the podcast to say that we are incredibly honored to have a brand new ADHd20 theme tune composed by Michael Bellar, who I have known since high school and is a dear, dear friend. He is a world-renowned keyboardist and composer, and you can learn more about him at michaelbellar.com. Basically, when the royalty-free music snippet that we were using for ADHd20 suddenly became not free, Michael kindly gave us a new original tune to start and end this show. By the way, it's called Fucking Safties. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a warning, just in case you were afraid suddenly that you were listening to the wrong podcast. You are not. This is ADHd20. Please enjoy. And once again, thank you, Michael Bellar. Oh my god, we're talking about genetics on ADHd20.
We sort of always are, since ADHD is packed. Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Thanks, parents. Thanks, parents.
Hereditary diseases, ADHD and heart disease. Thanks, Gene.
Oh god, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Come on, bring it.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
All right, Maddie, you have picked a humdinger of a topic for today. It is perfection.
I feel real good about it. We're not going to be talking about an actual trait that's like in the clinical books, but it's the feeling that a combination of traits gives us. Anyway, enough teasing.
Well, it's in here. Well, but first, I wanted to say to you very publicly that in the last couple of weeks, so yes, we've done a lot lately, which is why you haven't heard from us as much, and more on that in the topic. I just wanted to publicly state how proud I am of you, Matt. And here's why. It has long been your goal/dream to con GM. This is something you personally have been talking about for a while, and you did it. And you didn't just do it. You did it in one of like the hardest configurations to do it possible at the largest TTRPG conference, Gen Con. 72,000 nerds together for the sole purpose of tabletop role-playing games, board games, etc.
Yes.
And you GM'd not one, not two, but 3 different systems.
For 30 different people in the span of 3 days. The 3 games were Cyberpunk 2077, The Witcher, and Shadowscar. I had a great time. I am proud of myself too. I worked very, very hard. I pushed through insecurities. I lucked out because I had the best possible groups of people. None of them were hardcore players of any of the games, so they didn't know when I was full on fudging the rules.
Yeah.
Yes, that was awesome. And then I got to end the entire con playing with my pals, members of the Pocket Dimension, in fact. So yeah, it was a goalpost met, and you know, it's like sometimes we know when we see a mountain that we need to climb, and we prepare for that mountain. The most amazing thing about the experience for me is I did not wait until the last minute. I was so good, y'all.
You did not.
I was working. I really didn't. And I'm glad that I didn't, because if I had tried to do my usual half-assed night before thing, I'd still be bleeding internally or something.
Yeah. Well,
that would be horrible. I didn't.
I mean, there was so much impressive to me about the way you handled the entire thing from 2 years ago saying, I want to do that. I want to GM at a con. And, you know, kind of knowing that the right moment would come. And then when it did and you were presented with a choice, you rose to the occasion. You said, sure, I will take the 3-game offering, 3 different systems. It wasn't like one system, 3 modules. It was 3 fully different systems. But then watching the way that you prepped, the care that you put into it, and for the beauty and enjoyment of other people. There was this sense in you of like, I want people to have fun at this table. You know, they're traveling far and wide, and I want them to, even if it's not their system, I want them to have a good experience, and I can give them that. as people who don't ordinarily know how to prep, or to your point, start early enough, you started early, you prepped often, you built macros, you workshopped, you asked for feedback. Yeah. I mean, it just, you know, and then you took care of yourself when you needed to too, while we were at Gen Con, which can be a hard enough thing to do in and of itself when you're staying in a house with 6 other people and all of these different things. You were like, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to be quiet. So
I know. It was very unlike me. Trust
slam
me.
dunk. I know. When you kept beating me to bed, I was like, whoa.
It was weird, but it was delightful. And I'm glad I did it. I do have a year to think about what I might do next year, and I'm going to do that thinking. No beginnings. So yes, we came home. We pushed and pushed. I did, at least. I know you did too. Pushed and pushed and pushed to reach this goal. You know, it was a big, big part. I'm just telling my friend Seth that Seth of all trades, by the way, former guest of ADHd20.
All of the trades.
All of the trades. Every single one. Name them. Go ahead. Try. You can't. Because there's all of them. Yeah, I was telling Seth that because I knew I had a vacation after Gen Con, that I pushed even harder than I probably should have.
Yep. Same.
I do that a lot. And that is not, I want to say, I'm not a doctor. I don't think that's healthy, though. I don't think it's mentally good for you. That's what I do. But because I knew I was going to a place with an absolute off-grid situation, I think I pushed a little too hard than I should have. And
we sprained our souls.
We do what we do. Yeah, I sprained my brain just un poquito. And we came back and, you know, of course, real life rushes in, you know, work, jobs, financial areas, health stuff, all that kind of rushes in. And you're like, whoa.
Maybe don't take a new job the week before you leave for Gen Con. There's my personal advice to everybody else, while also working your old jobs.
That was your push. Oh my God, yeah. So we've been pushing, you know, we've been pushing ourselves too hard, and we've been pushing through pain, pushed to the brink, perhaps. And then pushing also can imply things like pushing away friends, getting pushed around. So it's not just a forceful thing. It's also allowing yourself to be pushed, which I do that as well. So that's what I thought we would talk about today. And I know, again, that the feeling of pushing or being pushed is not an official diagnostic trait of ADHD, but it does feel to me like it's a big part of all of our lives. And then my tarot card pull of the day happened in our live stream recording today.
Earlier. There we are.
This little card featured in the Dagger Heart system, which is appropriate, is called Forceful Push. And it is a domain card. Make an attack with your primary weapon against a target within melee range. On a success, you deal damage and knock them back to close range. On a success with hope, add d6 to your damage roll. Pushing. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's it.
I feel like that card is goals. I feel like we need to get better at that. We don't push enough away. We let everything into our melee range and stay in our melee range. And then suddenly we're surrounded, and the GM of life, known as the universe, is spending all of its fear to call in all of its minions at once. And now we're surrounded. And if we could just learn, forceful push a little bit more back.
That is exactly right. It's exactly right. Yeah, where do we want to start? I asked the internet. I was just like, I wasn't sure even. You know, I know that definitions of ADHD being on the autistic spectrum, other neurodivergent paths are changing, or, you know, being adjusted constantly. And and learning about them is a never-ending journey. But I did say, okay, here's what I want to talk about. Pushing. What actual traits that you might find in the DSM-5 would be discussed? And so there were some correlations made. Number one, impulsivity, of course. People with ADHD often act or speak before thinking, may interrupt others, sometimes have trouble waiting their turn in conversations or group settings. This can be defined as pushy or overly assertive sometimes. What? Oh no, my case disappearing.
Did I do that?
So that's a particular challenge of AKs. Not saying that it isn't mine, but it is definitely
hard, dude.
Mm-hmm. I know it is.
No, I know you know, but I feel like the world at large doesn't know. Because they do, and I think there's some gender conformity that comes into it, because I've long known that the way I act, had I been born male, I would have been seen as a go-getter. I would have been seen as someone who takes no shit, and but instead, as a woman, there are, norms I'm supposed to adhere to, and can't, because not only am I a woman with ADHD, which isn't supposed to happen, even though we all now know that ain't right or true, but I'm also, as a woman, I'm not even supposed to have this type of ADHD. I'm supposed to have the other type. I'm supposed to be anxious. I'm supposed to be all these other things, all these other tells of neurospice.
Freaking mutant. That's what
I'm a freak. But I'm not. That's the point, is that I know.
That's the thing.
There are, for every little girl out there that got called bossy, and I know I'm in good company there. But it is hard, because I feel like a lot of the times I'm not given any leeway. And that sucks. Nobody, it feels like, and maybe, there are edge cases of everything, but a lot of the times with impulsive type as a female, it feels like, to me, I don't get the benefit of the doubt. It is assumed that I am acting this way in a bad, and it's one of those things where, one of the biggest tells of ADHD that we've learned a lot thanks to TikTok is people with ADHD tend to try and tell you a story about themselves when you're telling them a story about yourself. And it's our way of trying to connect it to you. I know how you feel, because this thing happened to me. And more times than not, people who don't have any realm of it are like, oh, there goes Allison trying to take spotlight again. And in that moment, I'm trying to do anything but. I'm trying to oh yeah, I get how you feel. And I find myself running into that more and more, where I just feel like I don't get the benefit of the doubt sometimes, and that sucks. So
I don't even know that it's the benefit of the doubt. I feel like it is simply something that is so socially unaccepted, quote unquote. Yeah. Unaccepted. Yeah. But more importantly, there is absolutely no one that I know of going out there saying, look, let me advocate for this person that is, speaking before thinking, interrupting others, have trouble waiting in their turn in conversations, group settings. It's funny to make fun of the stuttering ADHD boy that is late all the time and loses things and all that stuff. It's funny. That is cute. It can be forgiven. But being impulsive is no less of a trait than any of those cute things. And yet, because of the nature of impulsivity, as it is seen as attack, it's just impossible for people without ADHD to think, why can't she just stop? Why can't she just be quiet? And I don't know what to say to them, except I do this. I say this to them on your behalf over and over and over.
Yeah.
She cannot not. She's certainly not trying to be offensive. It is just a part of her every minute.
Molecular makeup.
And because it isn't quote unquote cute, then you get into trouble more than anything else. And I'm sorry about that. That does suck. I have enough understanding because I have enough impulsivity myself to know. And I'm constantly just I mean, you watch me. I'm just like grabbing my mouth.
Physically, yeah.
Because I have to physically stop sometimes. But, I mean, there's just nothing you can do. And I think if you have somebody in your life that is on the impulsivity train, number one best thing you could possibly do is just start loving them and accepting. If they're a good person, you can call it out in a very calm and, kind way, but understand that they cannot stop. Just like somebody with OCD cannot not see germs that are everywhere, or, I can't be on time all the time. I don't know why. We have to learn these things and we have to accept them. Not just because we have ADHD, but because, look, you have choices. Your feelings can get hurt and you can shut that person off. Or you can say, wait a minute, that person can't stop, but that doesn't mean that their actions are reasons for me to get angry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yes to everything that you said. I'm becoming more and more aware of it, as I continue on my journey. And that's the other big note. We're aware. We know we do it. And if you knew before any social interaction, even with my bestest of friends that I feel completely comfortable around, I give myself pep talks. Don't hog the conversation. Let other people speak. Don't talk over people. It's a constant hum up here that I'm doing. And then while I'm like, you're fucking doing it right now. That's the thing, is the ADHD brain is having 27 thoughts at once while we're speaking. We're trying, but I think that your point is exactly it. I've found very sadly few people willing to give me the level of empathy that you and others in my, which is, as we get older, how we learn to shed people and keep others close, right? But everybody does something that is off-putting to somebody else. I am overlooking so many things about so many other people that drive me so crazy. And I think that's why I'm getting riled up about this, because lately I feel like I've kind of hit this wall in a lot of ways where I'm so hyper aware of my flaws while actively trying. Like, I just feel like I'm always trying to fix things, but it does sometimes feel like nobody's giving me the benefit of the doubt there, and nobody is realizing that the thing that they're doing is driving me. Just like you and I, that's a really good example of like the time blindness versus the impulsive interrupter. Yeah. I know I do it, and I know it's frustrating to you, just like you being less aware of time can be frustrating for me, but I know you're doing your best, and I'm doing my best, and there is this, I think that's why we're as good of friends as we are, because there is that, like, I don't ever want you to feel judged for the time blindness thing just because I'm time hyper aware, and things like that. I don't sit around and think, gee, like, Matt's doing this to hurt me.
That's it. And I mean, that's it. It's not about getting away with being a bully carte blanche. It's not about that. It is about the understanding that you are trying, and it's about the way that you can react. It's just a way that we can react to all of these things. And yeah, it's hard. I think it's the hardest one. I think there's so many things about your version of ADHD that I wish I had. God bless. And I've said this before, but that ain't impulsivity, that's not one of them. No.
Yeah, sometimes I look at Matt and I'm like, I wish I could be like that in a meeting. I wish I could just sit there and like listen better than I do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard, but...
And also to clarify, because you just made an excellent point, we're not talking about narcissist level sucking all the air out of the room.
Exactly. Yes, we're not. This is different. This is a mode of communication where you want to communicate, where communication is still on the table. It's just hard. It's just not a neurotypical response necessarily.
Yeah, and I mean, we can all trace things back to our difficult childhoods. We all had a difficult childhood in some way. That's what I've learned as an adult. You grow up thinking like you were special, and no, we all had somebody at school or somebody at home or somebody somewhere in our life that, and as an impulsive female, like I was punished for being the way I am, which is then why now I get triggered easily. Yeah. Right. But like I think back to like, I did have those couple of special teachers that It's all those memes that it's for those of you who are in the gifted and talented program. How's your debilitating anxiety and ADHD treating you now as an adult? But like those teachers who did recognize that my outcry in class was not because I was an asshole, but because I had a lot of energy that just didn't have somewhere to go.
And I will say that those of you who are listening and say, oh my gosh, that's exactly me. I do want to say, if that is a particular issue with you, it's a challenge with you, be like Allison in that allow people to come to you and say, dude, you pushed that way too far.
Too far.
And be okay with, like, accept that. Not carte, why is that my new word of the day, carte blanche? You don't, I'm not saying, like, don't stick up for yourself, but I'm saying have that ability to be talked to have people come and say, and voice their frustrations. And, those are going to be, the people that come to you, number one, are going to be your best friends, and you will only be their best friend all the more if you can listen and say, yeah, I'm totally aware of this. I'm totally aware of that. I understand. This is what I meant. I understand what you meant.
Matt's
and like really get down
right
to
now.
What? Why? What did I do? Why?
Because it is that like being seen, level, which is a good thing. Like it's a good,
I see.
But it's like, yeah, I do wish more people would calmly have those conversations with me. I would be a very different person today if more people in my formative years could have had those conversations with me rather than belittling me in the moment.
Rather than getting punished for things, again, that you're struggling to control. Maybe that's the best way to put it, struggling to control. Because, again, it is something that you can't control. But, again, I don't ever want on this podcast for people to say, oh, yeah, they talk about ADHD. That means they can get away with being late all the time. That's no. I am struggling to be on time. I'm struggling to do,
I'm struggling to shut the hell up. Excuse me, I sit here and mop my eyes on you.
That's okay. That's okay. That's fine.
No, but it does change everything. And we as adults can easily heal our wounded little inner child. But yeah, so yeah, I'm glad coming out of the gate strong. This one, you're right. It was obviously I felt some way about it because I know I just came out of the gate with my feelings on it. But it is something that I do as a 43-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Struggle every day with.
Oh man.
I think that's why Casey Davis, like naming her stuff struggle care, like that very present verb of it. Like we're actively in the struggle still, right? Yeah. We're not here because we figured anything out. We're here in the betwixt and between. I don't know if that makes you wrote turn this off or they don't know anything.
No.
I was here for answers.
Yeah, I've come here for answers. I'm writing it all down. Don't write it down. It's not gonna help you. Plus, you won't remember where you put that note next week. You'll search for it and you won't be able to find it.
Aww.
Anyway,
not true for us anymore. Our ClickUp is working.
That's true. That's but I did celebrate your victories. I did just this week say, man, I really, really wish that what you're going through is something that I could tell you as someone older than you is going to just magically disappear when you're my age. No, definitely not. But like you said, you get more, you can become more aware, and you can become more aware of yourself. And that's the best we got. That's kind of the best we got. But it can be pretty good. Another one on the list was emotional dysregulation as far as pushiness. ADHD is associated with difficulties in managing strong emotions, which may result in more intense reactions, frustration, or quick escalation to anger.
It sounds like you're reading like a medication warning label.
ADHD is associated with difficulties in managing strong emotions, which may result in more intense reactions, frustration, or quick escalation to anger. In stressful situations, this emotional overflow can appear forceful or aggressive, though the underlying source is difficulty inhibiting the response, not intentional pushiness. For questions or concerns, please call your doctor.
Stop taking
Stop taking ADHD.
Stop taking ADHD.
If feelings persist, find a good friend like Matt.
If you're tired all the time,
and one more person tells you to take it out
every 7 weeks on the clock. Yeah. This one, emotional dysregulation, is where I am putting my concept of pushing away friends or feeling pushed around, at least for me. It can definitely be anger. A lot of time it's frustration, and definitely it is, no matter what, is the strong emotion, right? And so many ways that I inhabit this particular push. There's an immediate shutdown. I do have a lot of anger, thanks, Dad, that I can easily pull out. All of those things, and it really can be just the tiniest miscommunication. But you go freaking crazy, go nuts, right?
Nuclear.
So that's one. Being hurt by a friend, but then having the guts or the spoons to then say, okay, hold on. Yeah. So what? Let's actually talk about that moment. This happens to us in D&D, role-playing games a good bit. It does happen to us a good bit. It happened this past weekend. It's happened with our dear friend Fitz.
Yeah, there's that child.
Before, and it's a normal human thing, but there's a part of miscommunication that can really push you into a danger zone so quickly. Yeah, one that I think everybody experiences, and I think that, again, find your friends that you can talk to, period. You can be mad at your friends. You heard it here, folks. You can be mad at your friends. You're allowed. You can be mad at your friends. You can misunderstand your friends. You could even barely speak the same language as your friends. But if that friend is willing to sit down and turn on Google Translate and sit with you and actually try to figure out what the miscommunication was, why you're doing it. I mean, I know for a fact that when I run into somebody who can't do that these days, they can't. I don't have time for that friend anymore. They will not be a friend to me. They will be an acquaintance maybe, but they can't be a friend, because that, especially for our brains, that is just, we have to work through our own dysregulation of emotions.
I can't work through yours too.
I can't work through yours too. And if, yes, I'm sorry that if I shut you down for any reason, I'm sorry that I did that. But if you can't allow me to come and say, okay, what's up? Let's try to get through this. Then we're just not going to go, because I can't promise you it won't happen again. I can't promise you. I have strong feelings, and I will speak those sometimes, and I will misunderstand or all of the stuff. Yeah.
I think at this point we're just kind of like talking through the tells, just to give both ourselves and anybody who might be listening and struggling with this, as themselves or a loved one, permission to feel all these feelings.
Right. That's very true. And in this one, in this one in particular, we haven't really implemented it particularly well. But having the understanding, like a step back, check out the situation, maybe take a break.
I'm going to interrupt you now.
Go.
I'm going to be pushy. I'm going to be pushy in my love for you now.
Forceful push.
Yes, there is this expectation that when you talk about something with people that mean something to you, that they will fix it and move on. And I just don't think that's realistic. I think more so it's we know it's going to happen again and again, so how can we best protect all parties involved? So we have talked at length about all of us around in our home game, getting a little bit riled up on both sides of the GM screen, right?
Right.
And to your point, we don't get it right in terms of like avoiding it. But like, I mean, I'll use the one that happened just last week as an example.
Right.
Can you imagine 2 years ago me? In the ending,
Right.
we ended on a cliffhanger. It was bad news bears for my character that I've been playing since 2020. The very one that we've come on this podcast and talked about being the tool through which I learned what the hell RSD was. But like the session, it was not going the way that I wanted it to. I wasn't feeling particularly heard. Matt and I talked about all these because guess what? I was doing things that wasn't making Matt feel particularly heard. Right. And we did, but like I wasn't angry at the end of the session. I didn't need to employ our safe word. I wasn't like firing off. And then you and I did talk about it immediately after, which we didn't have to do, but I hope we both felt better doing. But like that is a very different look than when things like that happened in the past, where it was like we did walk away angry. We did carry those like hurt feelings from the table into our personal lives. So I think progress has been made, and that's what we're all learning to do here is the notion of like progress over perfection, right? We're not going to stop the train, but we can at least like stand on the platform for a minute at the station and decide whether or not we want to get on it. I don't know if this analogy makes any sense outside of my head, but I'll
I mean,
lob
it sounded great. It sounded
into
real
the ether.
deep. A+.
Yeah, trains come in sometimes. You can't stop it, but like because emotional dysregulation is something I grew up with. Like we all did, but you know, like I really was the black sheep of the family in that regard. I was very different from the way that I displayed emotion. It was made very clear to me from a very young age was unlike the way that anybody else in my family did. And that may be a generational thing. That may be a neurospicy thing. I don't know. So that's, you know, everything that you wrote here makes sense to me, but like give yourself that credit for marching on forward with it sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah.
And to the point of this episode, which is about pushing yourself, I think that's one thing you and I are learning to do, though, is to say, I'm in an emotionally dysregulated state. I can't have that conversation right now. I can't take that step forward. I need to go to a quiet place right now. You know what I mean? And you and I are both getting a lot better about doing that. So
I absolutely agree. And it to the point where it makes me wonder why it was so hard for me. But I think that the next bullet point in the thing kind of touches on that.
Okay.
I've included social challenges as being a potentially pushy situation. Difficulty reading social cues, a tendency to speak out of turn or monopolize conversation may also be interpreted as pushiness. This is typically a result of the neurodevelopmental aspects of ADHD rather than a personality trait. And all of that's well and good. We've already kind of touched on that, but I would like to kind of push it into the direction more of why have we felt FOMO? I think that's a part of it. I think that sometimes we are purely driven by feelings of missing out. Why? I can't tell you how amazing it makes me feel for you to say that you are proud of me for going to bed earlier, because I could hear the fun happening as I was, you know, falling asleep building macros for the game that I didn't understand the next day. And I knew that there was laughter and gaiety, and I was just not there. And I was like, I'm not going to see these people in the flesh for months, if not another year. I should be out there. But
same.
But I didn't, because I think it's also, so really, honestly, social challenges, sure. I think this also kind of butts up against an ability to prioritize things as well sometimes. Sometimes this is something that my wife has taught me. It is okay to go to a party full of some friends, some strangers, and sit there and talk to your wife that you dragged to a party, right?
Okay.
Because like I have this mode where I go to a party and I feel like I have to be
work
on.
the room.
I have to work the room. I have to do that. That's all well and good if I'm by myself and I have no one else, or if I'm not, I have no other purpose than to do that. That's fine. But when I'm there with somebody who is absolutely fine not talking to anyone ever, and that person that I'm with is more important than anybody at the party, then why do I push? Why do I do that to myself and her? Why? And I think that's a large number of things, but it's misreading her social cues. It's misreading the situation. It's also just worrying about what other people think about us too. Like worrying about that. And luckily that most definitely so far goes away more and more and more as you get older. But it's still there. It's still there. So yeah, I think that's kind of that's where I'm going to put that part of the push. Do you have anything to add to that?
The thing that keeps coming to my mind, and the thing that I think I'm personally working through right now, is there is some part of my brain that thinks because something is the way that it is, that is the way it will always be. And that is the catastrophizing side of me. We're in a fight right now, so this person must hate me forever. What having good friends like you and Evan and Fitz has taught me in my life. So this all goes back to the find your people, right? Like find your found family. And so many of my other friends that are listening to this podcast, like Megan and Lori and Taryn, like when you find your people, and begin to heal those wounds, because that's all really any of this is it some kind of healing, some way. But you learn that it won't always be this way, Chucklehead. It's this way for this afternoon. And tomorrow, to your point earlier, you probably are going to wake up and get to have a conversation with that person. They will give you some context that will help you understand why they were acting the way they were acting. You will get the chance to give them the context that you need so they understand why you were acting the way you were acting, and you're both going to have this conversation. And so a part of my spiritual woo-woo journey, right, has been this: my brain defaults to worst case scenario. I know this about myself. I hate it about myself. It is the thing that I am most actively working every single day to change. But it's what we've talked about on this. The second you say, hey, Allison, you got a minute? I go, Matt's mad at me. He's going to yell at me. And so Matt has learned by being my friend to say, ooh, I have really good news I want to share with you. Can we chat, after work?
Yeah. And then I give you a compliment sandwich.
Yeah, the compliment sandwich. Or hey, yeah, something did go kind of awry yesterday. Do you have a minute to talk about it? But coming at me in a way that I know it's going to be a constructive conversation and not Matt yelling at me, right?
Yeah.
But I do, and I don't know if anybody else is listening to this, I default to worst case scenario. And so my spiritual journey has been about recognizing when I do that and then asking the question, okay, so that's the worst that's going to happen. What's the best that's going to happen? And then lately the node that I've settled into is look at the history. Look at all of the times you felt like Matt was mad at you and all of the times you and Matt kept being friends. Look at all the times you feel like you annoyed somebody and all the times that you guys laughed, you had inside jokes, you went on adventures. That's my social challenge is what I'm trying to plug this into. That's my difficulty connecting with other people, because in my head, I'm worrying on this person now hates me. This person is going to decide, because there was a time in my life where people did tell me I was too much, where people did walk out of my life, where I wasn't the right kind of someone to be, and that made a lasting imprint on my interpersonal relationships. And I had to heal that. I had to heal that. I couldn't put that on anybody else to heal it for me. I had to do it. And it's been a very long process. I'm still working on it. But at least, again, it's the train metaphor all over again. Analogy metaphor, I always mix those up of I can't stop it, but at least I can recognize it. And this does but again, to tie back into the topic of pushing, that's where I have to push the hardest. And a lot of times, unfortunately, these situations happen when I'm already at my lowest, when I'm already depleted and stressed out, and so it's how do I push that? Or do I just
100%.
give in and go to bed and just trust that it's going to be okay tomorrow? Which I had to do a little bit of at Gen Con. Like, I was having the same level of FOMO because I was like, I'm just going to put myself in bed because nothing good is going to come out of me staying up later.
Yep.
So
I love that. That explanation. I moved one bullet point up because I think RSD is also intertwined in all of this, the social challenges and the other bits and bobs of like what we worry about people thinking about us, what we do to avoid that feeling. Even you were always told, here's the loud one, and I was always the nerd.
Mm-hmm.
And so after a while, you start believing that, and then you go in with dukes up all the time too.
That we're really deep in this conversation today, and I love it. For the record, there is the other thing I do want to just call out, because this is ADHd20. This is the show that we inspect the intersection of ADHD and TTRPGs, right?
Right.
We didn't tell people that at the beginning. Soon they know at this point. We got so comfortable here, and you have too, that you know why you're here. But
you're hopefully
there is a crossover here, and maybe I'm saying this now so we can earmark it for a future episode. Difficulty reading social cues and a tendency to speak out of turn or monopolize conversation may also be interpreted as pushiness. I wonder if the reason that Daggerheart is my game is the lack of initiative. Because for those of you who do not play TTRPGs,
tell more. Say more.
Like in D&D, when it comes time to fight or have any kind of encounter, really, everybody rolls initiative. So everybody rolls their D20, and then high to low, you start going, and everybody takes a turn. Daggerheart is not neat and tidy like that. It functions more like real life, beat to beat. Who's ready to go? Who has something to do? And the most common question I get asked is, like, how do you manage that? Why wouldn't I just let my warrior just hit over and over again? But there are people who are nervous about Daggerheart because of that lack of initiative. Right. And so I have to learn to make sure that they feel seen, heard, and understood. But I wonder if the reason that we all gravitated to it was that beat to beat. It is impulsive. We've long joked that it's the TTRPG for and by the theater kids. Maybe it's also the TTRPG for and by the neurospicy. And maybe that's why it feels like ours so much. It literally is
certainly
for
that,
us.
That element for sure. The easier mechanics. That makes a lot of sense. But we don't have problems. Exactly. We don't have problems saying, "Oh, I'll go. I'll go next." I'm not going to wait until the last person in line at least anymore. Yeah, so God, I remember it was so cool in elementary, high school to be the one who never ever went first. It was so cool. The cool kids would never say, "Yeah, okay, I'll go." And so I did it every time because I had this sick, masochistic. I would just say, "Okay, fine." I would give it a beat, hoping somebody for once would go first so that I didn't have to. But I knew. I was like, "You idiots." And I would say, "Okay, let's go. I'll go."
Where was your seat on the bus?
Weird. Where would I sit on the bus? I would try to get in the back, but you've got to the problem with the back is you have to walk through the entire bus, which means there's that many more chances for people to make fun of you.
Oh,
so a lot of times I would, and of course the fun thing is to put your leg out and trip the nerd. Played Trip the Nerd. So fun.
I mean, I asked this. We didn't
fucking fun.
We didn't have a bus to school because I lived in this very affluent, most of the women didn't work. And so carpool was the thing to do, the carpool moms.
Right.
But I did take the bus from the junior high school to the high school for band because I joined
Oh, yeah.
the marching band with 2 years left of junior high, nerd. So my bus experience was with the band. So I was like the cool kids of the band. Were the back
yeah,
rows.
I know. Yes.
Queen of the nerds.
Yeah, that's I remember the king and queens of the nerds, and I was definitely not one of them either.
Bless.
I'm not trying to be depressing. I promise. But I am saying it's real. Okay, let's move on.
We're healing. We're not solving, but we're healing.
We're
today,
not
okay,
again.
friends?
We're not solving anything. We need therapy, and therefore this is what we're doing. I did just get this from my ADHD coach, Brittany Smith, also a guest. This is why I switched this. Hyperfocus, obviously. Hyperfocus is an ADHD trait that is obviously pushing through, and it's pushing through common sense, right? Like it's not the flow state, right?
No,
It's
I love
not
that
the flow
definition.
state.
That's so good.
I actually came up with that on my own. No AI.
Okay.
So it's just that's the way I see it.
Do you know what
I'm
I
trying
think
to
you
come
did?
up with it, but what did I do?
So the big question of this episode, the forceful push. Why do we push so hard sometimes? And you're asking
Right.
the question, right? I think you answered the question in this final bullet. Hyperfocus is why we push so hard. We get tunnel vision, and I
You
can't
get tunnel vision.
see, hear, understand, interpret, take on. When I am locked onto something, that is all, and I will do it to my own detriment. And you do it too, both Matt and listener.
I wanted to end with this one, Matt and listener. I wanted to put this one last because we started this episode talking about how proud of each other we were. And I am very proud that I didn't wait to the last minute, that I didn't cram in prepping for Gen Con, but I also need to be honest with myself and say that there were moments of prepping for Gen Con that were not necessary, that were not healthy, and it did not make any common sense. And Brittany wrote, there's also a backlash when we push ourselves too hard to do something too long and hard to do something with no intrinsic motivation behind it. We push ourselves too hard to do something too long, and then also to do that thing with no intrinsic motivation behind it. And that is through common sense in my mind. That's so hard. I feel like that's one of my biggest pitfalls, and it is the most misunderstood, because if I were to go to a boss that was paying me a yearly salary and show hours spent, I would be worth my weight in gold. But that doesn't mean it's good work, meaningful work. That doesn't mean it's valuable work. And that can become a very bad feeling, because what is the end result of that? Well, for me right now, just on the cusp of burnout, right? Like just pushed too hard, broke my brain a little bit. I have to force myself. Now I'm going to have to force myself to recover.
Yeah,
It shouldn't have to happen.
Same.
Yeah. So interesting. So watch out for that one too, you pushers.
A long time ago.
Pushers.
Long time. Like probably around season 2 of ADHd20. I revealed a question that I often try and ask myself when I feel myself spinning into one of these little emotionally dysregulated moments that I find myself in so often, is who told you that? And if you can't find the immediate answer, it's all pointing back at yourself, right? And I have to wonder if there's something in that for the neurospicy brain that we don't even consider that as a question. So we just take off running without, like, nobody told me that I had to be perfect at this. Nobody told me that I, all of this self pressure that we put on ourselves because we don't. I have to wonder if maybe neurotypical brains do ask that question earlier in a process. Did anybody tell me that?
It seems like they do. It seems like they do.
It does seem like they do. Neurotypicals listening to this podcast,
please weigh in.
confirm or deny.
We don't actually know, but it seems like they have that regulator.
Joke's on us because there's nobody neurotypical in this podcast. Joke's on us because there's nobody neurotypical.
There's nobody neurotypical.
Copy print. We solved it.
That's the way it is. That is so interesting. And let me tie it back to games again. There's something called the Forever GM, right? Actually, Matthew Colville, one of the most respected brains in the TTRPG world, uses that phrase as a derogatory moniker. I have never thought of it as being one. The definition basically is the Forever GM is the person in a group when you first start playing a role-playing game that steps up to the challenge of being a game master. And let me assure you, it is quite a challenge. It is I wouldn't say thankless job, but based on the amount of work necessary. I mean, based on the fact that players just waltz in, I love my character, it's never gonna die, I get to do whatever I want, and the game master, and all the game master has spent freaking hours preparing things, and yeah, maybe you're a lazy DM and you don't have to prep and you're good with that. That's fine, but you have still thought about it.
You've still thought about it. I promise you. You have.
You've still done the work at one point. It is still a freaking-enormous amount of work. And that's why anybody that could put, 2 words in front of each other often can go to a convention and be a GM. Not to belittle what we did, but I didn't want to be just a fast GM. I want to be... To me, Forever GM means that's just the role that spoke to me. I just wanted to do that more. However, there is actually a part of Matthew Colville's definition, which is the person in the group that then becomes the GM, and there isn't anybody else stepping up to take that role. It becomes very easy when you start a campaign and you say, I would love to be the GM. That's my favorite thing to do. And then you do it and you become unaware. You start eventually pushing through some common sense and you never, ever step back. And you never take the time to kind of look at where you are. That's one of the things that I'm kind of in the realm of this week after Gen Con is that thankfully my friend Allison here left Gen Con going, I wonder if I could run a campaign, just in the same time that I realized, holy shit, maybe I should take a little break. Maybe I should take a little break and not always be the GM right now, and I'm talking about campaign work. I'm talking about big, long stories being told, beautiful things. And I don't know yet. I honestly don't know yet because I immediately upon saying that, I got sad because I was like, oh, but that's my favorite thing. But again, is it common sense? Am I pushing? I don't know. Yeah. But I think so. I think I am. I'm pushing and pushing and pushing. And I think it's time for me to go, ooh, bucket list checked. Let me just breathe for a minute. A month, 2 months, 6 months, I don't know, dream it up again. So yeah, I think it applies to so many parts of our lives, some of them we don't even know about.
Well, the fact that we're even questioning, do we push too hard? That's our, because there was a time when we wouldn't even, we would have just been exhausted and cranky. Am I so exhausted and cranky? Because you're pushing too hard. So at least we are stopping the train yet, but we are recognizing, we hear the whistle blowing and we know what that means. And I will and absolutely everything you say and speak to the demographic in our audience listening to this right now that is wondering, are TTRPGs worth me trying out? our answer is emphatically yes. But go ahead and take this bit of unsolicited advice from me and Matt right now. And for anybody currently playing a TTRPG as well, I think every single player needs to GM, not for a campaign, but for some period of time, because there is just some things, plural, you're never going to understand as a player until you GM. It's going to make you a softer player in a good way, meaning more malleable and able to work with others in your party if you would please GM. GMs, please take a break and be a player, because there are certain things you can't understand when you're always sitting on your side of the DM screen. And I think that's something that we tend to try and put ourselves in boxes and labels of I am a player, I am a GM, and I am here begging you as somebody who was that girl but a short time ago. I do not want to GM. I have no interest in it. And part of that was because I don't like doing things that I'm bad at. And to be a good GM, you have to be a bad GM first.
You do.
You do. I'm sorry. You have to suck at some sessions. You have to play with good friends who are just going to be willing to be patient with you while you figure your stuff out. I think that's
really well said.
I agree with you. What I just said was great, but no.
Yeah, of course it is. I will add to it. I will add one last thing. I can't wait to see how you feel about campaign GM, being a game master for a campaign, and having to keep that in your brain. I'm excited for you. Very excited. I'm excited to play because I'm going to be playing, but I really look forward to the things that you're going to learn about yourself and your ability, because it's another whole.
It really, really is. And I've run enough sessions to know the debilitating feeling when you have put your heart and energy into something and your players just come in and, not to be mean, but just shit all over it in some way, whether they either find a way to break it or just take it in a direction you never foresaw coming or
start yawning or all of it.
Don't ever let it, because I've gotten the pleasure through our Patreon as well as through our kind of like home games to play with amazing people that I love very much, had my soul crushed by you. I'm just going to come out and say it. If you're listening to this and you played a game with me, you may well have been at one of those tables where I just went. It's the Nathan Fillion gif that I feel intrinsically in my soul as a GM. Okay, that hurt. But part of me wishes that like more tables would do the rotating GM thing. And again, if there's somebody at your table who prefers to be the GM, let them be the GM 60, 75% of the time. Don't let them push themselves so much that it hurts.
Right.
You know, and so I think that would be the better way forward for a lot of tables. So everybody just kind of understands everybody else's place and then is just that much more soft and empathetic to what they might be going through. I just think it's going to make everybody better. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we did it. We fixed everything. Good talk, everybody.
We really fixed everything this time. We really did. Good job. Thank you always, Allison, for being a part of my therapy.
It's a good therapy session.
It's a great one.
ADHd20 is brought to you by The Pocket Dimension, created by Matthew Bivens, Allison Kendrick, Evan Bivens, and Anna Fitzgerald.
Our Discord community is where neurodivergent minds and tabletop adventures collide. And it's open to everybody. We would love for you to be a part of it. You'll find the link in our show notes.
Want early access and exclusive content? Join us on Patreon, where you can even play in monthly games with us.
But the best way to support us is to share ADHd20 with someone who would love it.
Thanks for listening.
And we'll see you in the Pocket Dimension.